like I could when I was small, and it's so picturesque. Looking through the crystal ball, can you picture this? And it is inside.
Ciao, and welcome to Gio's Paintbrush, where 5 minutes is all it takes to be blown away by one of the world's greatest artists. English poet Matthew Arnold famously wrote, "Religion, if we follow the intention of human thought and human language in the use of the word, is ethics heightened, enkindled, lit up by feeling. The passage from morality to religion is made when morality is applied to emotion. And the true meaning of religion is thus not simply morality, but morality touched by emotion." In today's show, we'll consider a masterpiece by 17th century Flemish painter Peter Paul Rubens from the permanent collection of the John and Mable Ringling Museum of Art in Sarasota, Florida, The Gathering of Manna, a counter-Reformation Baroque painting that certainly applies emotion to morality in an effort to minimize the impact of the Protestant Reformation, when Christians throughout Europe rejected the excesses, the corruption, the complex hierarchical structure of the Roman Church in favor of a more austere, humble, and personal relationship with God. While religious wars are usually fought with fists, blades, and bullets, all in the name of a just and kind God, Rubens joined the battle with brush and oil. Benvenute.
The Protestant Reformation that began in 16th century Europe sought to establish Christian communities that favored simplicity and humility and one's personal, direct relationship with God over the corrupting wealth, artistic grandeur, and elaborate political structure, including a hierarchy of nuns, priests, and saints, needed to intercede with God on behalf of the common people of the Roman Catholic Church. And while bullets certainly flew across the continent over the primacy and legitimacy of the Roman Church during the 16th and 17th centuries, the battle also played out on canvas, with artists on both sides creating works that sought to capture the essence of what it meant to be Protestant or to be Catholic. The Flemish artist Peter Paul Rubens, who was born in Westphalia, today's Germany, in 1577, and who died in the Catholic city of Antwerp in 1640, was one of the most talented and important of the Church's defenders, creating counter-Reformation paintings that sought to capture the essential truth of Catholic doctrine and that portrayed Catholicism as glorious, colorful, rich in energy and life and vitality, as well as spiritually fulfilling, all in an effort to stem the Protestant tide and remind the faithful of the eternal life that awaits those who remain loyal to the one true Christian Church, as Rome's line of reasoning went. In his grand oil entitled Gathering of the Manna, circa 1625, pictured here, a painting created to serve as a cartoon for an elaborate tapestry with a scale suggesting the importance of the Church on this earth, Rubens captures a scene from Exodus chapter 16, in which the Israelites, wandering through the wilderness, gather the life-giving bread God provides to sustain them spiritually, with bread and physical sustenance as the central metaphor for the spiritual nourishment given to believers, and, during the period of the Counter-Reformation, to those who remain loyal to the Catholic Church. Now, to be sure, Rubens takes some artistic license with this scene, portraying the gathering of manna as it falls from the heavens, as if God himself were dropping the morsels of bread like rain in real time down upon a hungry people. Certainly a compelling image. In Exodus, however, this moment of action, of miraculous feeding, takes place off-stage in a sort of prequel to the collecting of bread found on the ground. And when the layer of dew lifted, there, on the surface of the wilderness, was a small round substance, as fine as frost on the ground. So when the children of Israel saw it, they said to one another, "What is it?" For they did not know what it was. Exodus chapter 16, verses 14 and 15. But given the purpose of Counter-Reformation art, it makes perfect sense that Rubens would go for the drama to demonstrate clearly and vividly in full color how God cares for his flock, and by implication, how spiritual starvation could be the fate of those who turn away. Rubens' painting also reveals the beauty and originality of Baroque art. The twisting, turning, moving figures, reaching, walking, bending, every single figure active, engaged, with backs turned to the viewer, 3 with faces turned upward, directing our focus to the divine, otherworldly source of the life-giving bread. And yet, as a whole, the composition possesses a powerful unity. Figures stand in front of and behind one another, and in a brilliant trick to create a single unified whole from 8 distinct human figures, Rubens has each of the forms connected to one another in a single line that begins top left with the woman's extended left-hand arm supporting the basket, running down to the child trailing behind her, back up to the man in orange holding his basket, and then finally pass with the basket of manna to the group of 4 figures standing at right, and then through this grouping down to the crouched figure at center, collecting bread from the ground. An ingenious composition. And the colors, reflective of Rubens' time in Italy, I think, are rich and bright, suggesting the fullness, the spiritual wealth, the royalty even, note the gold and blue, of a faithful life nourished by God. Moses' red cloak, Moses is in the right foreground, arm extended toward heaven with an open hand, as if signaling God to send the bread now, foreshadows the blood of the Lamb, the sacrifice God is prepared to make to demonstrate his love for his people. Even Moses' cloak appears to be in motion around his body, as Rubens, a master of the Baroque, invigorates his painting with a real-life animation, a depth of perception, with figures practically popping off the canvas and plenty of pink, lively flesh to make certain we grasp that these people are human, just like us. In Baroque art, the emotional impact of the exciting action portrayed is primary, and thus the Church's primary appeal to Christians who might be tempted to join the Reformation was an emotional rather than a rational one. But lest we think that Rubens was no more than a highly skilled propagandist. His use of color, his penchant for invigorating his works with fleshy nudes or half-nudes, his masterful, original approach to creating unity in a composition, and here, a bit of playfulness, actually portraying the scene on a tapestry he's painted in, hanging between 2 gold-covered pillars. And notice how the pillars themselves, they seem to be moving and twisting, taking Baroque to a new level. These qualities, as well as his remarkable ability to communicate emotional truth in his art, and his amazing production as an artist, one can hardly go anywhere in Europe, it seems, without encountering a Rubens masterpiece. They make him a one-of-a-kind painter, whose work, to this day, is interesting, unique, and full of life, almost 375 years after his own death. Grazie mille e ciao.
Even as I'm growing